Thank you, Maria, and welcome to all of our many, many friends and members, brothers and sisters who are joining us today from around the world, literally. Very good to have you here to celebrate and to remember this occasion. February 17th, on this day, February 17th in 1907, at exactly 7:17 a.m. Indian time, was when Colonel Olcott took his last breath. At that time, he was 74 years old, and he had served as the Theosophical Society's president and had shepherded the society from its infancy, literally from its birth in New York in 1875, to the time when it moved to India, to its finding and establishing itself at the current Adyar headquarters in 1882, and on to become a global presence in the world today, in the world of thought, in the world of spirituality today. Prior to the moment at which Colonel Olcott died, recognizing that his end on this earth was nearing, he wrote a letter, very brief. And he addressed that letter to two different audiences. And I'd just like to share that letter with you so that you can have some glimpse into his thinking as he was passing. So the first audience he addressed it to was to my beloved brothers in the physical body. I bid you all farewell. In memory of me, carry on the grand work of proclaiming and living the brotherhood of religions. That was the part of the letter that was addressed to us. The second brief part of the letter says, to my beloved brethren in the higher planes, I greet and come to you and implore you to help me to impress all men on earth that there is no religion higher than truth, and that in the brotherhood of religions lie the peace and the progress of humanity. Those were his parting words written in the letter to these two groups, which he served throughout his life and served quite well to establish this Theosophical Society. From 1907 onward, for almost the next 20 years, this day was celebrated as Olcott Day. And at 7:17 on the morning of this day, the program that we are now attending would begin. To this very day, on the morning of February 17th, the children from the Olcott School parade to the headquarters, carrying a portrait of Henry Steele Olcott in his memory. In 1923, just a few years after his passing, Fritz Kuntz, an American, established the first unofficial Adyar Day. It was his intention that the international headquarters of Adyar be remembered and also be supported on this day. Fritz Kuntz was a remarkable man who, as a very young man, had traveled around the world with C.W. Leadbeater. He went on at the age of 25 to become the principal of the Ananda College, founded by Colonel Olcott in what was then called Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. He went from there to live and serve with Annie Besant at Adyar in Australia, at Crotona in the United States. He was an international lecturer, quite a remarkable man. But his view was, and what he stated was, that Adyar, as Theosophus, Adyar is the mother of us all, and that there should be some special time during each year when we turn our thoughts toward this center that has brought this theosophical movement into the world. And that was to be this day. In 1926, Annie Besant made this Adyar Day official. Certain aspects of February 17th are quite important. It was, of course, the date on which Colonel Olcott passed from this earth, but it was also the date that C.W. Leadbeater was born, February 17th. Further, it was a date that was also important to Annie Besant because it was the date at which Giordano Bruno was burned at the stake in the year 1600. Giordano Bruno was a very early theosophist, an expounder of theosophical principles far ahead of his time, who was burned for the views that he propounded. It was also someone who Annie Besant felt very close to, in the sense that she felt that in some way she was a reincarnation of Giordano Bruno. Although in 1926, it was not anticipated, but many years later, Krishnamurti in 1987 also died on February 17th. So there's this compounding of energies of great people associated with this theosophical movement and its association with Adyar. Adyar is a very special place. I mean, for many of us, it is a place on the map. Certainly, it's a physical location. Adyar we think of as Theosophists as the name of the headquarters of the Theosophical Society, but it's also the name of a neighborhood in what is now known as the city, the city of Chennai. So it's a physical place. And it's a place that many of you have come to, have traveled to. Part of my function as the international president is to connect with members around the world. Prior to this pandemic, it involved a great deal of travel to the places where you live and to speak with and to meet with many of you. One of the things that I have found over the years has been that we have many active members in the Theosophical Society around the world, but somehow members who have actually come to and have had the experience of being in Adyar, of being in this place that was called by Annie Besant the master's home, of experiencing, of living in this energy, even if for a short time. It is something that I find in members around the world that somehow it activates something. That's the experience. So it's a place that many people have found they have physically been able to visit. But beyond that, it is a place in consciousness. Adyar is an energetic point that has been established in bringing into being this Theosophical Society, really this Theosophical movement. And it's a place that, for many of us, we have the good fortune to live and to work in Adyar. For others, it's a place that at some point in their life they have been able to visit. For others, and for the majority of people, you will never be able, circumstances will not permit, that you actually are physically present at Adyar. But on a day such as this, Adyar Day, it is a time when each and every one of us can consciously connect with this vibrant point of energy that has been established by these great ones for the purposes of bringing a different light into this world. So on Adyar Day, we around the world take a moment to remember, take a moment to call to our minds those great ones who stand behind this movement and their purposes in bringing it into being. And in that, we touch Adyar. But in that process also, Adyar touches us. And if we are open, it has its effects.